Welcome to the Pap Smear podcast, where we don't just scratch the surface, we go deeper. And today I am having on a very special guest, Pattie Ehsaei. She's an attorney, she's a TikToker, and she is a new author of this beautiful book, Never Date a Broke Dude. I wanted her on because I have done just that. I've been there, done that, and I figured I want to know more. I want to learn more. And I know I want you guys to learn more at home. So I can't wait to dive in, go deep. You know, Antonia, when she was on here, she said that when she's like with her boyfriend, Greg, and she gets aggressive, he's like, put your dick away. I'm like, I relate.
Yeah, we can talk about that too.
Well, that's what I want to talk about, because the minute that I met you, obviously I heard about you through our agent, my licensing agent, your agent, Shab, who brought you up during one of our quarterly meetings.
Yeah.
And she's like, you should have Pattie on the podcast. Told me about your book. She didn't even have to tell me more. Told me about the book. And I thought anybody that writes a book called Don't Date a Broke Dude is cool as shit, is really straightforward, right? Like you're not trying to sugarcoat the title. You're not trying to like make it to where you're like doing it, whatever. You're like, fuck it. This is the name of my book.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to get it out there. So anyway, I'm so happy that you're here. I'm
Thank
honored
you.
that you flew here.
I didn't want to do it any other way. This is so much fun.
Amazing. Well, welcome to the Pap Smear podcast.
I love the name. Oh my God.
Well, first I asked you, I go, do you know the name? Because I feel like sometimes when people come on and I tell them the name because it's not out yet, they're like, what?
That's why I want to come on. I'm like, yes, I want to be on that podcast.
Really?
Yes. I'm like, I want to be on the Pap Smear podcast. Yes.
That's amazing. Just like I was like, I love the name of your book.
Yeah.
I want you on because
Yeah,
it's the no bullshit approach to life.
Yes, exactly.
And you, within 5 minutes of talking to you, I was like, you are no bullshit. I knew right away. When you said attorney, I'm like, check. You know?
Yeah.
So thank you for being so like, just so honest, and for, I think, approaching a subject that is relatable and honest and something that is inspiring.
Yeah,
so I like I said, I just resonated with it.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And
Love
it is,
No, they actually wanted me to change the name.
who's they?
Initially, the publishers wanted me to change the name to something other than Never Date a Broke Dude. And because they thought that it was too maybe harsh. And I was like, no way. We're keeping the name.
Stick to it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I knew I would like you even more through this.
Yeah, I was like, no, that's the name.
Good.
Yeah.
Good for you, because you know a lot of people would be pushed over by that.
Yeah. There was pressure. I was like, no, absolutely not. That is what I want.
What did they want you to name it?
They were thinking about naming it Never Date a Broken Dude, like EN at the end of broke.
No.
Yeah. And I was like, no, but that's not what it's about. It's about financial independence for women. That's really what it's about. But I don't want to sugarcoat it. I don't want to change the title just to appease some people that may be offended.
Yes.
Yeah. That was the
Bravo.
thing. Yeah. I'm like, no.
No, and you know, broken and broke are very different.
Absolutely. That's
Because
why
you could
I
have
wanted to
someone
keep
that's
it.
broken emotionally, but it's like,
Correct.
you need to know what the title is. I'm sorry, we all judge a book by its cover, which is why I love your colors. I mean, it's just
Cute,
beautiful.
right? Yeah.
It's beautiful, and I'm glad you didn't change the name of it. Good for you.
Yeah.
There's way too many people in this industry, whether it's in publishing
Yeah.
or in television, that are told to do things, and they do it.
Especially women, right? Yeah. Especially women, we're taught that if we stand our ground, that we're too aggressive, we're masculine, we should be ladylike, that's not a nice, versus a man will not even flinch to put his foot down when it comes to something like that.
Yeah.
But women were just taught to be different. You know, we're taught to be ladylike and quiet. And when you're not, it shocks the shit out of people.
Yeah. And it's so surprising to me that it's still shocking the shit out of people.
Right.
Like, when do we get to be alive while this shift happens to where you never talk about it again?
Right.
Because same for me, being in TV or take away TV for a minute, being in construction and in that industry,
Sure.
I just lived it, right? I showed up every day. This is what I do for a living. I'm a woman, but who gives a shit? And then I would start getting the question, like, how's it feel to be in a male dominated industry? And I would kind of like not really answer the question because it didn't matter. It wasn't relevant to me.
Right.
But the more I got asked, the more the subject matter became important because even though it didn't resonate with me, I knew that it was important enough for people to understand my mindset.
Yep.
So maybe they could think that way like I do, which is, this is just how I am. And it's okay.
Right.
It's okay for a man or a woman to be confident.
Absolutely. And the problem is, here's the biggest problem that we still have in society is that any traits that lead to success, for example, confidence, ambition, right, drive, all of that, anytime a woman's like that, they call that masculine. They have this thing where it's like, oh, these are feminine traits and these are masculine traits. And it just so happens that the masculine traits are all the traits that get people ahead. And there is this thing going on right now as far as like, well, you need to be in your masculine or you need to be in your feminine. And they even talk to us about being in our masculine and feminine. And
Who did?
if you see all like the spiritual gurus out there, there's a lot of people out there that are talking about, you need to be in your masculine, you need to be in your feminine. Even some people that are manager reps have,
Really?
yes, that have really that premise. What they've built their entire platform on is this masculine and feminine thing. And that's strictly a lie. And let me tell you why, because this whole being your masculine, feminine, it comes from men were hunters and women were gatherers. Have you heard?
Yeah.
Everyone says that.
That was
right?
a long ass time ago.
Right. But that never happened. That's all bullshit. So there's a study that came out by University of Washington where they studied indigenous tribes. And they realized that in 79% of those tribes, women hunted. They hunted big game. They hunted alone. The best hunters were the grandmothers. And you did what you were good at. We weren't gatherers. We were hunters too. So it wasn't until the advent of religion and the agricultural revolution that we were like, oh, feminine and masculine. Men are supposed to provide and protect, and women are supposed to be nurturers. That's all bullshit.
That makes sense. My grandmother can eat like an entire chicken bone.
See?
Okay, that woman, a chicken wing goes in, nothing comes out.
Right.
That woman's an animal. So I could see her being like the best in her tribe, like going out and hunting.
I'm telling you.
I mean, that's interesting information.
Yeah, most people don't know that.
Well, and it's interesting with like the masculine and feminine, right? Like using those words in different subject matters. Like, okay, I get it, right? Mm-hmm. But now, isn't it getting are we getting further from that to where, or am I just in my bubble where it's still like, okay, I understand why some women view me as cocky, arrogant, aggressive. I hear those words a lot.
Right.
Interestingly, I am confident. I am really good at what I do. And I'm unapologetic.
Right.
Those are really great qualities for me because they work for me. And I make sure that I lead with respect and less with fear.
Right.
And so I hope that we're getting closer to a place where there is no more like, how's it feel like to be a woman in a man's occupation? It's like, no, we're all doing the same shit.
Exactly. I really hope so too. I just see the trends on social media.
Still like
this?
Yeah,
which really scares me, like the trad wife trend, where it's huge on TikTok, where you have these insecure dudes on mics talking about how they want a traditional wife who sits at home, cooks, cleans, takes care of the kids. And then the women say, oh, this is what I want to do. I'm a trad wife. Like that trend is huge.
That's a trend? Oh, see,
TikTok.
That's right. You TikToker over here.
I have my pulse on what's going on out there.
You really do have your finger on the pulse. I wish I could figure out TikTok, but really great for you that you did.
Yeah.
I was reading about you and I was watching videos and you were like, a woman in her 40s getting on TikTok.
I was 48.
and being like, I'm doing this. And you said some of your friends were kind of like, whatever, laughing at you.
Yeah, they're like, what are you talking about? You're 48. You're going to be on TikTok?
Like, who gives a shit how old you are?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's limitations in everybody's mind, right?
But not yours.
Absolutely not.
That's all that matters.
Right. And
now how many viewers do you have? How many?
Over 1 million followers. Yeah.
I can't get to 1 million on Instagram. So bravo to you.
Yeah.
That's huge.
I'm really happy. But if I had listened, right? I mean, we are told as women that once we reach a certain age in our 40s, then we're done. I mean, I can't tell you the comments that I get on TikTok, people calling me, oh, you're an old lady, you're an old hag, you've been run through,
Who says this?
Comments on my TikTok
Don't
videos.
read your comments.
I read it, but you know what? I read them because I want to know the mentality of the people that are still out there.
Interesting.
That's why I read it. It's because I want to know who my enemies are and what they're thinking. And
Smart.
It's still the case that they think that women are washed up.
Does that hurt your feelings? You're a strong woman. I could tell right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Does that stuff hurt you?
Honestly, it doesn't hurt me. It makes me understand how moronic these people are. Mm-hmm. Like that there's still these Neanderthals out there that think that women in their late 40s and 50s are run through. I'm like, well, what about you? You're in your 50s. You're not run through. If women are run through, it requires a man to run them through.
Yeah.
So why are women run through, but a man's not run through at his 50s?
And so most of the guys are saying these comments.
Oh, yeah, it's men.
It's not women.
No.
You're getting like male haters.
Yes.
And why do you think you're getting the male haters? So like your content on TikTok, which again, to start TikTok at 48, and you started talking about you're a financial advisor. So was that how it began with financial advice? Was it geared always towards women?
It was, at first, it started with decorum because we were in the pandemic.
Yeah.
And people didn't know how to act anymore. They didn't know how to dress. They didn't know how to go to work. People just literally didn't know how to act.
They were a mess.
Right.
Yeah.
So it started out as teaching people decorum, not just, how to eat, but in the workplace, how are you supposed to act so you don't make a fool of yourself? It kind of started like that.
What did you teach them?
I was
like, here's how you get dressed in the morning.
What you should wear to work, what's appropriate attire, what's not appropriate attire. I would teach them really table manners too, that most people have no idea what to do, how to cut steak properly. Like you eat steak, right? So how to cut steak properly, how to do all that stuff.
Like finishing school.
But then I started to teach finance because I realized how important it is for women to be financially independent and that women out there didn't know how to do that. So then I went into like a finance, female empowerment type of genre.
That's how you found yourself there. Because I was going to say, what inspired you to write the book? Like what was that tipping point in your life where you go, you know what? I'm seeing enough here. I'm seeing some trends.
Right.
I think I want to do this. Because writing a book is so hard.
It is.
That's why I haven't done it.
It's very hard. And, I'm a first-time author, right? So I'm not someone that writes for a living. So that was really hard. But, as far as the inspiration for the book, I've always wanted to write a book on financial independence for women because my mother lost her life because she wasn't financially independent.
Oh.
So, yes, my mom was a badass in Iran when we lived in Iran.
I bet.
And she had her own career. She made just as much money, if not more, than my father. My father had a great career. They were like the power couple. And then when we moved to the U.S., my mom could not find a job in her respective field because she couldn't pass the medical exam, so she couldn't work. So I saw how the lack of financial independence impacted my mother and how she lost her power in the relationship. And because of that, my dad started to emotionally abuse her. And she had nowhere to go because she wasn't financially independent. And she would take me to my room every single day when they would get into arguments and be like, do you see how my life has changed because I don't have financial choices? She's like, no matter how much money your husband makes, you always make and control your own money because whoever controls your money controls you.
How old were you?
That started when I was about 7 or 8.
So how old were you when you moved?
I was 6, almost 7 when I moved.
And your mom's this powerhouse in in her field,
Yeah,
in her
she
country.
she was the head nurse of the hospital of the king. So she had a really great career. Yeah.
So she comes here, you're 6. She's this powerhouse.
Yeah.
She's making more than your dad. They get out here, and like anybody that knows this, you're coming to a different country, you're
Yeah.
starting over.
Absolutely.
Especially when you're in the medical field. You're a doctor there? No, you're not here.
Right.
So you saw this shift. I mean, 6 is very young.
Yeah.
I don't really remember a lot when I was 6, but but you remember this. This was
Yeah.
pivotal for you because you watched your mother kind of fall off this pedestal.
Yes, and lose herself, lose her financial independence, and then that happened. It takes time, right, for someone to break you down, and eventually it got to a point where she became super depressed. She was on tons of psychotropic medications, and at the age of 24, she took my father's life and then took her own life.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my God.
I was living in Chicago.
Oh my God.
Yes.
How old were you?
24.
You're 24.
I had a 19-year-old brother.
The two of you. 24 and 19. You're in Chicago. Where's your brother?
He was in Colorado. He was at University of Colorado. I had just become a prosecutor like 7 months before that. Yeah.
And they're living where? They were
in Colorado.
Where?
They were
So
also living
they
in
were
Colorado.
in Colorado.
But my brother wasn't living with them. My brother was about an hour away. Yeah.
And you watched this, like I said, you watched this shift with your mom and this control of power and then being abused and mistreated by your dad because of this kind of seeing her in a different light and thinking that behavior is okay.
Yes.
And she hits the breaking point, and that's it for both of them.
Yep. And people don't understand the consequences of losing your financial independence. This could be the consequence.
Were you talking to her like every day?
I was talking to her every day. She actually came to Chicago for about a month to live with me. And she felt even more isolated there because she didn't have friends. She didn't know anybody. I was living in a studio apartment on the North Shore, Yeah. And so she was just alone, and I was going to work every day. It's not like I could take off work. I just started. So she even felt more isolated. And then my dad kept calling and wanting her back and begged her back and flew to Chicago to bring her back. And I remember the last time I saw her, he had left my apartment and he was waiting for her to leave, and she was saying goodbye to me. The last time I saw her, she said, "I have to go back with the man that I hate because I don't have a choice." And I will never forget that.
She was scared to go back.
Yeah.
She didn't want to go back.
She felt like she felt like staying in Chicago was even worse for her because she was getting even more depressed, because in Colorado she at least had some doctors, she at least had some friends, she knew people.
Sunshine.
Yeah, right. She didn't know anybody in Chicago. She was just isolated. So
But in that month she was visiting you?
she came out to live with me. She left my dad. She came out to live with me and then realizes she couldn't do it. So
And there she goes back to a man she hates.
That's exactly what
because
she
she
said.
doesn't have a choice.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're 24, you're smart, you know what's going on. Did you ever think something like this would happen? I mean, I don't think anybody thinks that's going to happen, but did you see, you have intuition. I could tell, was this something where like in your gut, you're like, something bad's going to happen?
I didn't. And, people that lose people to suicide always backtrack as far as what signs I have seen, right? So I knew that she was really depressed. And the only thing she had said to me one time was, she said, "You guys don't need me anymore. I just want to kill myself." And I didn't take it serious. I was like, "Mom, what are you talking about? Of course we need you." And I started to cry. I was like, "We love you. I still need you. Don't be silly." And I felt like I brought her back to reality. And she was like, okay, yeah, you're right. So, and then she had asked me one other time, he's so bad to me, what would happen if I killed him? Yeah. And again, I didn't take that seriously because I was like, that's crazy talk. Like, how are you going to kill him? Like in my mind, what are you
Did
going
you
to poison?
ask her?
Well, I said, what do you mean? She goes, well, you know what would happen? I'm just so upset. I'm like, Mom, don't be silly. This is the most ridiculous thing. Like, you're not going to kill anybody. Like, you're losing your mind. Come back, come back, come back. And she wouldn't. And so in my mind, I'm like, well, where's she going to get a gun? Or, how is this going to
You're like
happen?
thinking it through. Like,
Yeah.
how's she killing him or what?
Yeah.
How's this happening?
And that's why I didn't think that it would ever happen. And then later on, I found out that she got a gun from a pawn shop and they loaded the gun, which is illegal. They loaded the gun for her and gave
she
it to
didn't know
her.
how.
Yeah. And you're not supposed to do that. That's illegal.
So you're in Chicago. What? You get a call? What happens?
In Chicago, I had spoken with her that morning. She said that was like the worst day of her life, that she and my dad had a huge fight, and he was so brazen about an affair that he was having. Yeah. And so he was very, and this isn't his first affair. So he was very brazen and just didn't care anymore and was just talking about it openly with her and like throwing it in her face. And I said, and I was in the courtroom. And I remember I said, okay, I got to go to court. I will call you. When I come back from lunch, I'm going to get you a ticket. You're going to fly back to Chicago. That's what I said to her. So she said, okay. I said, I will call you at lunch. She said, okay. I went to court. I came back. I called. No one was answering. No one was answering. I thought that was weird. So then I remember either I called my dad's work or they called me. I don't remember. Everything is just so like, I've suppressed a lot of it, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it was so traumatic. But I remember speaking to my dad's work and they were like, well, he never came home from lunch. And they drove by and they were like, both cars were there and no one was answering. It was 6:00 at night. I got worried at that point. So I called the police and I said, can you go to a wellness check? They called me back. Luckily, one of my best friends, Leanna, was with me. And they said, is someone there with you? I said, yeah. They said, put her on the phone. So they put her on the phone and they told her that they found 2 bodies. Whoa. Yeah. And that's how I found out.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Remember you were going to try to tell me that on the couch
Yes.
before we started?
Because I didn't want to shock you. It shocked so many people. Like it's a
because it is shocking.
Yeah, it's a tragedy.
And so you are from 6 to 24 watching this, your mother, who mine coincidentally is staying here right now, who was like my world growing when I was little.
Right.
Assuming the same for you.
Absolutely.
And you watched the demise of your mother to the point of, I can't take this anymore, and I won't let this happen to me or anyone else again.
Yes, and I think it was the only way she felt like she could win. I feel like it was her big fuck you to him.
That's a big fuck you.
Yeah, I think that was the big fuck you.
But still, there's you and your 19-year-old brother.
And clearly she wasn't thinking straight. Again, she was on like 5 or 6 different types of psychotropic medication, all of them which on the label said, will cause suicide.
No.
Yeah. I found like 5 or 6 bottles of like different types of antidepressants that she was taking together. So that's what triggered it. And so the reason I wrote this book is because...
First, I want to say I'm beyond sorry for your traumatic loss and also the fact that you had to experience and watch all this unfold from 6 to 24, because that is the shittiest way to grow up and to view not just one parent, but 2. So I'm really sorry about that.
Thank you. I wanted to honor my mom, and I wanted to use her story as a catalyst for change and to honor her. And what better way to honor her than to use her story so that no other woman suffers like she did. I think that's the most important thing you can do, is make her that impactful. And that's why I wrote it.
The greatest thing I've heard when it comes to the reason for writing a book.
Yeah.
because I can't imagine. And I know, like, for me, what financial freedom does for me and how it makes me feel.
Right.
But for you to be paying a huge tribute to your mother and this beautiful life that ended up with this horrific tragedy. And the tragedy didn't happen when you were 24. The tragedy started happening when you were 6, and when she started to realize that without financial freedom or making your own money in this relationship with your father, that she was being disrespected or not as respected.
Absolutely.
And through that, the emotional abuse. But wow, if that isn't a huge impact on you and your life and the way you are, I mean, can I ask you, does it make you, did you hate your dad?
You know, let me tell you, I did until Anthony Robbins said something that really hit me hard. And Anthony Robbins says that if you're going to blame him for the bad shit, you got to blame him for the good shit. Okay?
This is after he was dead.
This is after he was dead. After he died, I hated him.
Of course.
For years. And this quote changed my life because I started thinking back as far as how he's impacted my life. And to be honest, my dad was a walking irony because although he was mentally abusive to my mom, and it was mostly through infidelity, to be fair, it was mostly through infidelity. But he just lost respect for her, so he wouldn't respect her and didn't let her spend money like she wanted to because she wasn't making the money, you know, all that stuff. But my dad is the reason that I think I'm as good, if not better, than any man. He was the one that would push me to go out there. Like if I played soccer and if I was playing with the boys, he's like, you're just as good as any of them. Go out there. He never, in a culture, in an Iranian culture, at 18, they're already talking about how you're going to get married, right? My dad was like, you are not, we didn't even talk about getting married unless we were talking about when I wasn't allowed to get married, which was after I graduate law school and get a job and am able to support myself. Both my parents would say that to me all the time, but my dad especially was all about me being financially independent. So it's just so weird to me. And he never treated me differently because I was a girl. In fact, he expected more out of me than he did my brother. And that's the reverse typically in Persian families. You know, they want the boy to be like the doctor or, you know, whatever. And then, well, we're just going to marry you off.
Absolutely.
And it was the opposite of that. And so, yeah, if I'm going to blame him for the bad, I better blame him for the good.
Which was a really beautiful way to see it and see him.
It is. It is.
What else was good?
You know, we had, my parents were really funny. We laughed a lot in my house. You know, my mom was probably one of the funniest people I know. And all my friends would say that. She had just a wicked sense of humor. My dad had a wicked sense of humor. They were goofy. We would laugh a lot. We didn't have any money, but, you know, we had fun. We did have fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful way to look at things after something like that.
Yeah, it's hard too, you know?
Oh,
it's hard, right? But I've learned to forgive him, and I've kind of learned to understand his life and what he was going through. And maybe that's why he did the things that he did. And not that there's an excuse for it, but it's an understanding.
It's called empathy.
Yeah.
It's kind of beautiful because I think a lot of people think that the only way you can have empathy is to go through that same thing.
Right.
And I learned that, which was you can actually have empathy for anyone in this world.
Yeah.
Even if you haven't walked in their shoes, even if you haven't experienced what they've experienced.
Yeah.
So the fact that you have empathy for your father, the way he grew up, the marriage he was in with your mother,
yes,
the shift that happened for him. It's a way of seeing him and not just hating.
Correct.
Right? Because it's so easy. A lot of people in your position would be like, fuck him.
Yeah.
I hate this person and what he did to me, and this victim mentality that you may carry through life. And instead, this was this was, correct me if I'm wrong, a catalyst for not just change in the way you see him and that tragedy, but the way that you live your life.
Yes.
You, I'm assuming, have financial freedom.
Yes.
I would hope.
Absolutely. Yes.
Tell me, though, if you don't. I'm
Yes.
kidding.
No, I
Blink,
definitely
I'm
have
kidding.
financial
Of course.
freedom. Yeah.
So you have financial freedom.
Yeah.
But you took what happened to you and what you watched happen to your mother and said, no more, please.
Yeah.
How one person at a time on TikTok through reading this unbelievable book.
Yeah.
And through talking to me and anyone else,
Right.
of like what you hope to see in this world, because there clearly is still a big divide. I didn't know this trad wife thing was like serious.
It's serious.
I know somebody said it and I was like, but also then I look at it and I go, well, to each his own. The problem is, and I'm going to make a stupid analogy, but I think it's really good. Okay. In my industry, general contractors get a bad name because there's a lot of shit ones out there.
Right.
Okay. And then they give the other ones a horrible name. And so everybody's scared of general contractors and this and that and the other. So these women that believe in this trad wife life approach, like just because we think that they're kind of maybe taking us back.
Yes.
Is that what you think?
Oh, absolutely. That's not what I think. That's what I know.
I mean, I believe you.
Yes.
I didn't know it was a thing. So I'm just learning this now.
Oh, yeah. Taking us back.
Taking us back. But at the same time, here they are. And they're like, well, that's what they want. What the hell do we do with anybody who wants that life or that's all they want in life? I don't know. Like, do you feel it's just an interesting approach because you're in this business, right? You're in your world. I'm in mine, but we're still women in our fields and in our lives where we are awesome.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
We're badasses.
We're straight to the point.
Yeah.
No bullshit. We're super confident. You are confident and you are smart and you are someone who I liked within like 5 minutes, but like, I used to say about people like that I think are moving us backwards. Like, well, fuck you. You know, you're ruining it for all the rest of us. And then I stopped and I would take an approach of like, thank you. Kind of maybe where like when you looked at your father as this hate and then you look at him now where you're like empathizing with him and loving him for what he did, the good that he did. Like, what do we say to those women? Like, is there a thank you? Like, thank you for, because I don't want to be a trad wife.
Right.
You don't want to be a trad wife.
No, definitely not.
But like, I don't want everyone to be like you and me. Because then if everyone's like you and me, then what makes us so cool? And now we've got this book, right? Never Dated Broke Dude.
Yes.
Tell me, how many have you dated?
Oh my God. 2 major ones. I've had 2 major broke dudes. The last one, after I dated him, I was $30,000 in credit card debt.
Because of him?
Because of him.
What were you buying him?
I was just supporting us.
Oh, so he didn't have a job?
No.
Did he have a job when you met?
No.
Were you married to him?
No.
Good.
No. I've never been married.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Neither have I.
Yeah. And I don't want to be married.
Neither do I.
All right. Perfect.
Yeah.
This is a love fest.
I love this. Not that there's anything wrong with being married.
No, if you want to get married, that's great.
It's not for me.
Not for me either.
So you're dating him. He had no job.
He didn't have a job. He was living with his parents.
How old were you?
I was 31.
How old was he?
He was 27.
Okay.
Something like that, 26. He was a few years younger than me.
You had your own place?
I had my own place. I was working. I was doing pretty well, but not
You were an attorney?
No, I was in finance by that point. I used to be an attorney, and then by that point, I had moved to LA, and I was in finance. And I was doing well, but enough to support one person, not 2, right? So he was in the industry, and he was trying to
What does that mean? Oh, you mean LA industry.
LA industry.
He was an actor.
Yeah, he wanted to be a director.
Okay.
So he wasn't working. And so, you know, at first he would spend the night 2 nights, then 3 nights. Then eventually he just moved in.
Squatter.
Yeah. And then I was buying all the groceries. I was paying for all the rent. Like, we planned vacations. I'd pay for it. We would go to concerts. I would pay for it.
Because you loved him, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you didn't pay for it, you didn't get to go do these things.
And yes, and I was afraid to lose him if I were to ask him to contribute.
Why?
Because I wanted to be the ride or die chick. I wanted to show him that I'm not a gold digger. I would do anything for my man.
And did you feel like it would make you a gold digger by asking him just to contribute to like rent and groceries?
Not a gold digger, but I felt like I wouldn't be ride or die because he was going through a hard time. And I had to show him that what a supportive woman I am. Look, I'm going to support you through this time. I mean, I have money. Well, I really didn't. Again, I was after we broke up, and he broke up with me, by the way. I was $30,000 worth of, credit card debt. Right. Yeah. So, but that's why I did it, because I didn't have value enough within myself. All I wanted was a warm body next to me, and I was willing to do whatever it took to keep that body, because that's how I validated who I was. It took me a long time to figure that out.
So from that one, did you kind of follow that pattern and date the next
No, I dated
dude?
a broke dude before him. This was my second one.
Okay.
And then after that, I was like, no more.
That's it.
Yeah, he put me through the ringer. And I said no more after that. Yeah.
And I mean, I see a big rock on your finger.
I am quote unquote engaged.
Tell me what quote unquote engaged means.
That means that it's a higher level of commitment, but we're just not going to get married.
Can you please talk to my boyfriend? Mm-hmm. I tell him, I go, I don't want to get married.
Yeah.
I don't.
Right.
But I want a higher level of commitment.
Yes.
I love that you said that.
That's what it is.
Because I don't need any of that. I love that you said that. I love that you can say, this is what I want, whether it's like normal to people,
right,
to other people or not.
Yeah.
What is the new normal? Make it whatever the hell you want.
Exactly.
Like, I got fake married. Mm-hmm. I had a wedding.
You did.
I told my brother not to become ordained.
Wow. So it wasn't legal.
So it wasn't legal.
Interesting.
And my friends thought I was crazy for doing it. Now, fast forward 20 years, and they're like, God, you were brilliant. Mm-hmm. God, you were brilliant. And so it's like, yeah, you can bag on me all you want, but I just was ahead of my time.
Yeah.
You
were.
Something felt wrong.
Inside, your intuition.
So I didn't want it.
Yep.
And thank God.
Yeah.
Right? But like, I love that. Like, say it again.
It's just a higher level of commitment.
A higher level of commitment.
Yeah. I mean, he's my life partner.
I love
this. I
this.
really feel, I've been with him for 8 years.
What's his name?
Joel.
Joel.
Yeah. And he is...
Not broke?
No. And, I almost didn't date him because I thought he was broke. Because when I met him, we met on Bumble.
Ooh.
And he said that he was a musician. I'm like, I'm not trying to, date some broke-ass musician.
Yeah, no offense.
Working at a dive bar. I'm like, no, thank you. I'm not, no. So I asked one of my best friends, who's a very successful music producer, I'm like, do you know this guy? And I told him his name. He's like, oh yeah, he's a super successful guitar player. He played with Stevie Wonder. He's super talented. Oh yeah, he's the shit. I was like, oh, he's that kind of musician.
You had to do your research because you knew what you didn't want.
Right. I just wasn't going to do that anymore.
You didn't want to you don't want to lead with that mentality of a warm body and just somebody to be in life with you and go through it, but support them through it.
Right.
We're going to support our partners sometimes.
Of course. No, absolutely.
Right?
No, absolutely. He's my partner and he would do the same for me. But he just can't be broke. That's the bottom line.
I love this.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your higher level of commitment.
Thank you.
I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And tell me, even before the show, you told me, you asked me if I had kids. I don't. You don't. Now, are you childless by choice? What is it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to know yourself, right? And one thing is, you're going to laugh, I love babies. I don't like children.
And you always felt that way?
No, I actually wanted children up until about, I would say 35. And then I was like, okay, doesn't look like I'm going to meet somebody that I'm going to have kids with.
Wow.
So I just kind of fell into not having kids.
Okay.
And in my culture, in Iranian culture, like you don't have children out of wedlock. You just don't, and I can't get that out of my head. So, I'm like,
so you never looked at like freezing your eggs or
no,
doing anything like that?
I considered it, but then as I was getting older, I was like, I don't think having a child is for me anymore.
It's not for you?
I became too selfish with my time.
I don't think that's the word I would use for you.
Okay. What would you use?
I wouldn't say that you're too selfish. You were living.
I am.
And you are doing the things that you want to do in life.
Right.
There's nothing selfish about that. Because you thought you wanted that up until 35.
Yeah.
And then because of your background and being from Iran and knowing that having a child out of wedlock was just something taboo, you chose to not do it. And then you were like, you know what? That's okay. This is what I'm going to do now.
Yes.
There's nothing selfish about what you're doing, what you've done, and what you will continue to do.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I
So,
that.
and so here you are in this moment of like doing what you want and teaching people what not to do.
Right.
Which is the most valuable thing in this life.
Yeah.
Is learning what not to do. I don't give a shit what field you're in. Those tools are way more helpful than me telling you what you should do.
Right.
So I like the approach that you took with the book.
Yeah.
I love the title of the book. I love that you stuck with the title.
Yeah.
When you said that your publishers were like, change the name, you're like, no, this is the name. For me, same thing.
Yeah.
You and I are very parallel and very, very, like I'm from Greece. So I've got that like Mediterranean background. When I spent time and have spent time in the Middle East, everyone thinks I'm Persian.
What were you doing in the Middle East?
My boyfriend has a foundation where he helps Syrian refugees.
Wow. Was he Syrian?
He's not.
Oh,
He's
okay.
as white as it comes.
Wow.
From Utah, from Florida, but just devotes his life to helping those in need and really just has this connection to the Middle East. So I have now some great friends from the Middle East and I love it there.
Oh,
but
wow.
everyone always thinks I'm Persian.
Yeah, you have
always.
that look.
Yeah.
You do.
And so
the
it's
Persian
just
look.
like, it's a connection that I knew. I was like, okay, first of all, you look like my sister. And second of all, you're a badass.
Yeah.
And I love, with broke dudes, I've been there.
Right.
And that's why I asked you the question of like, did you pay for things because you were like, well, if I don't, then I don't get to do all this fun stuff.
Yeah. That was the reason too.
Right.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons.
My whole dating history, for the most part, was with guys that didn't have money. And for a long time, I thought, well, maybe it's because I'm a control freak, because I am. And
so am I.
Right? And I'm not, probably not, that's not changing.
Right.
But I always was asking myself after this, was I dating men that had less than I did so I could control it? But I also know that I am such a lover that like it's this connection. And so even though these men were amazing men, still to this day, like I love each of them for those chapters in my life. But I remember one fight I had this guy I was dating, and we went to the Bahamas, and we were gambling. I wanted to play blackjack, and he had no money. I mean, he was making like zero money.
Yeah.
He had a job, but it was like,
Yeah.
I've never seen a smaller paycheck ever. I was like, what? And you work more than me? What are you doing?
Right.
And I remember I'm like, here's some money. Like, let's keep playing. And he was pissed. We ended up getting in an argument that night in the room. I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, I don't need your money. And I'm like, you do.
Yeah.
If you want to play blackjack.
Yeah, you kind of
do.
Blackjack requires money.
And then I just remembered it was like, that was this source of contention.
Yeah.
Fast forward, interesting enough, I then dated somebody who I think made just as much as I did. But we would never talk about it. It was so weird. And this is somebody I spent 8 years of my life with.
Wow.
This is somebody I owned a home with. This is somebody I wanted my life to
Oh
be
my
with
gosh.
forever. And yet here I am. I would get a job and I'd be like, I got this job for 20,000 or they're paying me 50,000 for this. Like I'm
Yeah.
making shit up,
Yeah.
but like I would yell the number out.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of it.
Right.
Little did I know that those things would be used against me later. Well, you could pay for it because you just got paid 50,000 for that. Wow. You could pay for this. And I'll never forget one time.
Wow.
We're at the airport at O'Hare going on vacation. And he goes to the ATM and I'm standing next to him. And he went like this to like hide the ATM from me. And that's when I was like, what the fuck?
How
Like, you think I
toxic is
give
that?
two shits
Oh my God.
how much money you have?
Yeah.
I got
That's
my
so
own.
weird.
I'm good. But there was like no talking about it.
That's weird.
Fast forward to my love and my partner, who, when we met, I don't care if you have two nickels to rub together. My past is my past, and sometimes it's like a real, trigger for me because I would do it again and again and again.
Right.
But I was like, when I first met Brant, I'm like, okay, he lives in a yurt. I made up a story of like he lives on the beach in a tent, and he does yoga and whatever. Come to find out, he makes more than me, has made more than me, has way more than me.
Wow.
And there is something so different about being with somebody who, A, is on your level.
Yeah.
They don't have to be crazy ahead of you and they don't have to
Yes.
be so below you, but
Yes.
like someone who's there with you.
Right.
A.
Huge.
B, talk about it. Why are we not talking about
That's
it?
what I say in the book. I lay out 7 questions that you have to ask your partner before you decide that you're going to spend the rest of your life
You
with
know
them.
the 7 questions.
You need to ask, what are your financial goals?
Okay.
Because you have to make sure that your financial goals align. Like if you want to buy a house and he's happy living in an apartment constantly and wants to vacation, that's not going to work out. You need to know what his debt to income ratio is, right? And I give you a formula on how to figure that out because that tells you how much debt he has in relation to how much he's making. And if it's above 43%, that means he's on the verge of bankruptcy.
Oh,
Yes.
it's a workbook.
That is a workbook. There's a whole section
write in
of
it.
money in there. Yeah. That it gives you step-by-step instructions on how to invest, how to do all that stuff. But it gives you, and then you need to know what his credit score is. His credit score is really important. How you're going to raise your kids. Are you going to require them to work? Are you going to pay for their college? Are you not going to pay for their college? How's that going to work?
If you want a family, right?
Right. If you want a family. Then you also ask,
I won't hold you to all 7.
no, what are your spending habits?
Yes.
Okay.
If you don't already see them.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you a saver? Are you, how's that going to work? And then you also want to ask, how do you feel about supporting other family members or friends? Because in your mind, you may be thinking, I'm going to support my parents. He might be thinking, no, we're not. We're not going to support anybody.
That's a good question.
So these are the types of questions that you need to ask before you decide you're going to spend the rest of your life with them. Because finance is one of the top reasons that relationships end.
Why it's so crazy to me that we're in this space of being so authentic with the ones we love the most, but we're so afraid to talk about money.
Because it's taboo. Everyone, don't want to ask how much money he makes or how much.
Why not? My
Right,
boyfriend wanted
exactly.
to know right away, like,
Right.
Are you comfortable talking?
Right.
Not right away, but like,
Sure.
we need to be comfortable. If we
Yes.
want a future together and see a future
Yeah.
together, then we have to be open and honest about
Absolutely.
that. I can't wait to tell Brant about you.
Oh, I can't wait to meet him. I'd love to meet
Oh,
him.
God, you're going to love him.
I can't wait.
He's just salt of the earth, and he will love watching this podcast. He will love listening to this podcast. He will love that you are talking about a subject that everyone needs to know about. And this isn't a man-hating thing.
No, not at all. I love men.
I
do.
love men.
I love men.
Good.
Yeah.
And we love women too.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
want women to be smarter. What's one thing? If you could say one thing, say it to the camera and tell women what what's the one thing you want to say to him that really you hope sticks?
If there's one thing that I could tell every woman is that Prince Charming is not coming to save you. We all dream about this Prince Charming that's going to come and just sweep us off our feet, right? Take care of all of our problems, heal our heart, allow us to quit the job that we hate, right? And we're going to live happily ever after. And that person does not exist. And the reason that that person does not exist
Sorry to crush your dreams, ladies.
yeah, he doesn't exist, is because a man that is whole and healed is not going to want a damsel in distress, is not going to want to be a savior, is not going to want a pet project. That man is going to want a woman who's also whole and healed that he can build an empire with. The guy who wants to be the Prince Charming, I want you guys to listen to this. That guy is lacking something inside of him. And he is using the Prince Charming role as something to fulfill that need, that insecurity that he has. And
power.
And power.
It's a big one.
Right. It gives him power. I was just going to say that. So that leads to control, possessiveness, lack of understanding, lack of empathy, because he always needs something to validate himself. Always. And that is not a good husband. So your Prince Charming is going to turn into a turd. So instead of looking for your Prince Charming, you need to give yourself whatever you want a man to give you. Be able to give that to yourself. Then you will be whole, you will be healed, and you will find the right man that you can build an empire with. You don't need anyone to save you.
Amen.
That's what I would say.
And I'm living proof of it.
Absolutely.
I went through it.
Yeah.
I did the broke shit.
Yeah.
I did the taboo talking about finances.
Right.
And then I made myself whole.
Right.
Always was financially independent, but in a different, like, made myself whole in all
mentally,
the other
emotionally.
ways.
Right.
And through that, found the best partner I could in this life to
Yeah.
create this
Right.
empire
Me too.
together. And I love that you have the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love that you are spreading the word. I really do,
Yeah.
because it is. You are preaching in a
Yes.
way. I'm not a religious person, but like you are teaching
sure.
people. It's one thing when even Shab, our agent,
Mm-hmm.
was like, "We want you to write a book, Allison." I'm like, if I were to write a book,
Mm-hmm.
it would need to be something that people use as a workbook.
That's exactly
And
it.
that is what you did with your book.
Yeah.
It is a workbook.
It really
Don't
is.
just read it, have a pen and keep it with you.
Yeah.
Go on your dates, fill it out, do your debt to income ratio, ladies.
Yes.
Find that percentage and just create your own destiny.
Yeah,
And I hope
absolutely.
that you have so much success in your life.
Thank you.
I am so happy that you're in mine.
Thank you.
And this was just a real honor. And I love
Me too. The feeling's mutual. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. It was amazing.
Thank you for being. This is like when I think of like the fact that you flew here and to do this with me, it just really
It
does.
felt right to me.
It feels right to me.
Yeah,
So, and I
felt right
know
to me.
that you will be in my life for forever. So this is
I'd be honored.
amazing.
That'd be so much fun.
And I will tell everyone about this.
Thank you.
I promise you.
I want you to read the last chapter because I was asked to change the last line of the book. And I said,
Can I
no.
see the last line?
Yes.
Or should I not ruin it? Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, I'm going to tell you something. I will never forget this.
Thank
I
you.
will never forget your story.
Thank you.
I will never forget your struggle.
You're going to make me cry.
Oh,
You're going to make me cry, really.
You went through something that no one should ever have to go through. Ever.
You're right. But through struggle comes that, you know?
And through sadness,
Yeah.
look at what came out of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Look
So,
at what came out of it.
Thank you.
This amazing, confident, beautiful, funny woman. I'm sure you got your humor from your mom.
I did.
I'm sure you did.
I did.
And you're honoring her every day.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you for sharing all that and being super vulnerable with me, because that stuff's not easy.
Yeah.
On the surface, I'm sure you're going to talk about this a lot on your book tour.
You're the first one
Really?
that I'm talking to about this. Absolute first one.
I feel even more honored.
Yeah, you're the first one.
I hope you continue to be vulnerable with everyone along this
I will
journey.
Be. I will be. What's the point if you're not going to be vulnerable, right?
That's what I say.
There's no point.
There's no point.
Yeah.
Because then we're just masking it and trying to be like, well, I'm so smart. I'm the expert and I can write the book.
Right.
No, here's what happened to me
Yeah.
that was so devastating. Mm-hmm. It changed the course of my life.
Right.
And inspired me to be the change that I want to see.
Right.
And that's what you did.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I hug you?
Yes.
Again?